If I walked into this situation, this is exactly what I would do. You'd be very careful when I pick this up. And you guys are gonna go open up that door for me right back there. What I'm gonna do, you don't have to do this every day, I'm just gonna be honest. But if you follow somebody who's ramming, I would always check to make sure, because about time your boss gives you an important part to make and they knock this vise off square, you're gonna fight it. See how dirty that is? I'm gonna wipe this down. So I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. If you ain't gonna do a lot of high precision parts and pieces, most all of your vices that fit on a bill, notice you see these keyways? If you mic this keyway and make a, how do I wanna say it? Like, you know, say I got a little center drilled and tapped holes. If you make a little key that fits in here within a few tenths of a thousandths of this width, and you make the key to fit the way of your machine, you can get it to within a couple thousandths right off the get-go. You just lay it right down on top. And then you don't have to indicate a whole bunch of stuff in. I'm gonna inspect this. And basically all this is just a little hone. I want to make sure if there's any, see how there's a little condensation and stuff underneath there? I'm going to take this little hone and I'm going to just make sure there's no high spots. You guys seen this in your video. I think the guy showed you guys this. If you watched your video, you didn't have to watch it. Only one lady last year. I had 2 business ladies last year for a class, I think. 2 or 3. The one lady goes, I watched them. Oh, you really didn't get to see the videos? This is how you would start off. And if your hands get dirty, go wash your hands. That's tenths of thousands. Yeah. Just that gunk underneath there. It could really. I mean, how do I want to say it? This is not air control climate in here either. But yeah, you want to make sure that you get this as clean as you can.
What's your grit of your
it's actually just a for like doing grinding your own tools, high-speed steel and stuff like that. So then we're going to take this. See how dirty that is? And truly, if I was doing this, you notice how there's some gunk on here? I would take them and put them over there in like your parts cleaner, and then just try to get the chips and stuff off of them. Like I said, you don't have to do this every single day you come into the shop. But one thing I will highly say is never leave a vise unsquare without a note, or never leave a vise untightened. Say untightened, unsquared. Because somebody will come over here, you know, the maintenance guys come in here, and I don't care if they do, but that'd be pretty crappy on my part if I just unloosened them and then they come in here to drill a hole in something. Take that same home. In any kind of a high spot, I want to make sure that I get it knocked off of there. And I would have all this stuff off of there. I would do the whole table. And say if you were working on a fixture off the vise, you'd want to hone this, you know, before you ever put your fixture up on the table. Gonna clean this. What have you? I'm gonna go wash my hands before I ever go pick up that part, that vise. I want to make sure I'm just as clean. You're talking about them surface grinders over there. You can't have a speck of dust or anything underneath your part, or it'll deviate it, especially if you're working with tenths of a thousandths of an inch, and that's what grinders are designed to do. I set this up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come straight down. I didn't want to go that hard. I'm going to come straight down. I'm going to push this. So if there's any debris, it should be on this edge. You notice how this thing moves. It was absolutely 0, 0. Like I said, people think you can just throw this stuff up here and now we're machining. It doesn't work that way. I'm just gonna tell you my trick. If you look down inside of here, I'm gonna take my fingers and I'm gonna try to get this as close as I can right off the get-go. The reason I say that, and it's probably gonna do this to me, is when we start to move this, you notice how it binds up? So if you have this not relatively square and you start to indicate it in, it could get bound up on one of your little bolts, and it won't let you turn it. So then you kind of got to start over. So basically what I like to do, I try to do, I just kind of like taking my fingers, look at it, eyeball it. Does this side look like this side? You notice how this was not light, but see how I can move this? Grab our other. Like I said, I would have stuck these over there in that parts washer. And now I'm just going to snug them. I don't want them tight or anything like that. I look like I'm pretty well centered. Yeah. We're gonna come over here. Over there, we worked off of one axis. We're gonna kind of do the same thing over here. basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to come over here to the end. I'm going to put a load on this right off the get-go. Rule number 1, this indicator's $300. If you get a little happy and run that indicator off, and you go to run this back on, you're going to destroy that $300 indicator. So either you take your finger and you bring it back on, or you move the y-axis and start over. The one thing nice is you could get away with running that off just a little bit with this particular indicator, but with like a 0.5 thousandths indicator, if you would have ran it off 50 thousandths and you would have brought it back in there, it would have busted the needle. And they're about $250, a cheap one. So I start down here. We're just gonna say that's 0. And now that I started down here, I made this 0. So now I'm gonna tap this, but I don't wanna reset that to 0 until I get back over here to see how far, because if you tap it and set it to 0, you're just gonna fight yourself. So basically what you do is you take they call these a Babbitt hammer. We had, and then originally I'm just gonna tap it to see which way it goes. I went the wrong way. I'm just gonna go about half. Sure. I'm gonna set this back up here, and I'm gonna set that back to 0. I'm gonna run it. I'm not saying you can't go all the way, but sometimes if you go all the way the first go around, that take my little Babbitt hammer. You notice I'm not hitting it very hard. You don't want to beat it like somebody owes you money. I have to tell my kids that all the time. How's it look?
Looking pretty good. About 1 or so.
Remember, I didn't go half that time. I just try to get that out of there. We're at about a half. And really what I would start to do now at this juncture, I'm so close, I would come in here and just start snugging these a little bit.
Okay.
And sometimes you might run into a situation where you might want to leave one loose and one tight to use it as a pendulum. You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes you might actually have to tighten and loosen a little bit once you get it close to keep it. I think we look pretty good there.
I think it's really good.
And then, like the forge, y'all, make sure the part is good and tight. Now that we got this square, you want to make sure that the vise is good and tight.